The Governor.ng is a unified news platform and online webzine for various state governments in Nigeria and specifically focusing on the business of government and governance and highlighting, showcasing the activities as well as tracking the activities of state governors, the social transformation initiatives, their projects, reforms, policies. It is sector specific. It's the first of its kind in the Federal Republic of Nigeria that's focusing solely on the business of government. And that's the idea. The idea is what? Bring government closer to the people and the people closer to government. Let there be a harmony. Let that be. We've signed on to the open government partnership, and that's what this is all about. It's about now people getting to know what government is doing. Is about the elements of true democracy. That's financial and fiscal and financial accountability, information and communication accountability, democratic accountability, where people can actually then see what is government doing, what is our governor doing, how is he expending or how are they appropriating the resources of the state government. And also we will feature local governments. Every month we would have a publication which will showcase a specific state, though other states will be included, and it will highlight the various initiatives going on in there. We will publish the governor report, which will monthly show what each state governor is doing, and we would have the good governance report that will show what areas of good governance, who is performing, who is not. It's pro and not against. It is to showcase what governors are doing. And that's mainly about the governor as a publication. But indeed, we decided with the elections over, this is another opportunity to actually showcase specific state governors. And we're starting this particular edition. We have a special inaugural edition. And the first one, we're featuring Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governor-elect, and in a few days, to be governor of Lagos. And we're speaking to a number of people post-election. Who really is Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who has won the governorship election in Lagos State? What are his plans? And we're talking about showcasing the journey from being LSDPC, MD, just 9 months ago, to becoming the governor of Lagos on May 29th, 2019, which is very interesting. And we're tracking that journey. We're tracking the most interesting campaigns seen in recent times in the history of electioneering and campaigning in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We're looking at the merger of digital and traditional media to see a candidate succeed. And actually, again, breaking the divide, the special inaugural edition comes in print edition and in video, as a video mag. And that's to bridge the technology divide for those who prefer print or those who want to watch in video. And it's going to be circulated all over Lagos, all over Nigeria. And this will go on again monthly, where we'll have monthly editions. Like I said earlier, I thank you for reading or for watching, and to relax. Enjoy the season, enjoy the moment as we begin the journey to future Nigeria from May 2019 to 2023, and see governors show us the implementation of their various agendas and for us to reap the benefits of the democracy which we so well fought for again, and the reality of the various dreams of various governors come to pass, which was what the people voted for. Thank you.
Wow, that's quite a tedious one. If we are to go down memory lane on happenings in Nigeria before 1999, we were, as everybody knows, we were deep in the throes of militarism for a number of years, from January 1, 1984 to May 29th, 1999. That's quite a number of years if you do the arithmetic. And during that time, we were strictly under military decrees, edicts, and there was total absence of democracy. It was a rule of force by the military establishment. And given the nature of the military, it is obey the last order. Orders were issued. There was no iota or pretense to even carry along the public, because the military usually shot its way into power. There were no campaigns, no programs, no policies, no elections, nothing. So you found yourself listening to the radio and just hearing about a change of government. And once the military got there, they did everything according to their whims and caprices. And so the nation was held down and held by the jugular for those number of years. And of course, it took its toll on the development of the country, on the progress of the country, on the socio-economic and political emancipation of the country. And some of us were actually in the vortex of it all, because of the absence of democracy, there were no parliaments, no houses of assembly, no Senate or House of Reps. In short, there was no legislature. So no participatory democracy, no representatives of the people to promote democracy. So the onus fell on the press to act as the arbiter and the voice of the people, the arbiter between the people and the government, the military government. And I was an editor, for most of that period. And we had a joke then that you did not become a real editor until you had tasted detention of the authorities, of the security agencies, of the government of the day. And so in our offices, those of us who were editors then, we had a toothbrush, a face towel, a copy of your passport, and personal effects, because the military authorities could come in anytime and pick you up and throw you into detention. I had my own fair share of such experiences. And so it became an adage amongst us, press people at the time, that you are not worthy of the editorial chair until you had tasted the detention. It was quite an experience. It was harrowing experience, but it was also illuminating in the sense that it broadened our horizon. We got a lot of insight into the psychological makeup of the military and into the dynamics of, power play, power equation, and governance as well. But on a larger note, the country was strangulated, as it were. There was no freedom of speech, hardly freedom of movement, because there were certain restricted areas that you couldn't, saunter into without the repercussions, without recriminations from the authorities. So we were more or less in a cage throughout the military adventurism. And the high point of it was the annulment of the June 12 election in 1993, which was won by my publisher. And of course, naturally, some of us became thrown into the whole saga. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was then a senator, and he was also thrown into the whole adventure of June 12. I wouldn't want to bore you with all the details of how the annulment came, but MK Abiola, the election was conducted on June 12. Many things happened before then. We had gone through a lot of processes, the campaign, there were political programs that the then head of state, Babangida, enacted, and we went through, some were cancelled, another set of people, a lot of rigmaroling, and that led to his being labeled as Maradona because he kept shifting the goalpost. So eventually the election held on June 12th, and we were coasting home to victory. And on June 16th, there was this TAS announcement of the suspension of results and eventual cancellation of the entire election, when it was quite obvious to the whole world that MK Abiola had won because we had all the results anyway. And then we went into the struggle. We said no. That was the highest assault on the sensibilities and sensitivities of Nigerians. So we said no, and then we plunged ourselves into the struggle. That led to the formation of National Democratic Coalition, popularly known as NADECO. NADECO was the apex of the struggle, and there were various levels of it, and Bola Ahmed Tinubu also became one of the patrons of the struggle. He was a very prominent member of NADECO, and there were so many escapades, that occurred. Of course, the military reacted as usual, violently and repressively. A lot of repressive actions took place. We were all being hounded all over the place. My office was shut down for more than 2 years as the Concord newspapers, because we were in the forefront, in the vanguard of the clamor for the restoration of June 12th. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu played a yeoman's role in the struggle as well. At some point, he was arrested and detained at Balogun here. And some of us were operatives at that time. We used to go there, get instructions from him on how to carry on the struggle outside. And we got the petrol, they have a name, the Pengasan or something, the Association for these petrol tankers and drivers union. We got them involved, and they cooperated. There was a massive national strike, which lasted almost 7 weeks at the time, all pressing for the restoration of June 12th. And we paralyzed the country at some point. And when the military authorities couldn't take it, they bared their fangs and hounded people. People were shot, people were killed, people were hounded out. Tinubu's home was firebombed in Victoria Island there, and he was also hounded out of the country. A lot of our leading lights had to flee the country. Professor Wole Soyinka, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, General Akinrin-Ade, a host of leading lights of NADECO had to flee the country. And some of us who were also carrying on as operatives at the time, the country also became too hot for some of us, so we also had to find our ways out of the country. And then regrouped in London at a point. And I remember vividly, General Akinrin-Ade hosted the NADECO. We used to have the NADECO meeting in one of his flats off Edgware Road in London. And every Tuesday we used to have the NADECO meeting. Myself, the late Bekor and Som Kuti was also involved. And then at some point, Chief John Oyegun, who later became chairman of APC, was involved. Our Commodore Dan Suleiman was the only northerner amongst us then in London. And then the late Bobonwo Sisi and a host of others, and that was the nucleus of the NADECO abroad that sought and actually sensitized the entire world about the goings-on in Nigeria and why it was important for the military to be taken off the stage. And back home, inside Nigeria itself, the late Papa Brahma Desoya led the NADECO activities at home with the man who's still alive now, Papa Chief Ayo Adebanjo, and a host of others who are late now, Chief Adekunle Ajashin, They all formed the nucleus and the apex of NADECO at home. And they also made life difficult for the Abacha military junta at the time. So these were the issues that occurred. Nigeria was practically ungovernable. We made Nigeria ungovernable for 5 solid years without firing a shot. The government was uncomfortable, and we sensitized and mobilized the entire conscience of the world against the military at home. So eventually, as Providence will have it, Abacha dropped dead in 1978, June, and quite sadly, MK Abiola also died exactly a month later, even on the eve of his release, because we were expecting him to be released. And I was the editor of his newspaper then, the Concord, and I remember that day, Dr. Doyin Abiola, his wife, who was our managing director and editor-in-chief, had called me from Abuja. She and a few of Abiola's family members had been invited the previous day to come and see MKO, because nobody was allowed to see him for 4 years. And so we were all very jubilant and expectant that he would be released. So Dr. Abiola called me about 12 noon and asked me to do a draft statement for her, to tell the world that they had seen him and he was a little bit okay, and they were coming back to Lagos. I did the draft statement. Only a couple of hours later, we just saw the news flash on CNN that the man had died, under very questionable circumstances till date. And of course, spontaneous riot erupted in the whole of Lagos, and it spread to the Ibadan. The entire southwest became engulfed in demonstrations, protests, and riots, and all that, And I had the very unenviable job of announcing the obituary of my own publisher as the editor of the paper. So, of course, you could imagine the well of emotions and all that. But as an editor, you want her to have a clear head in such situations. And the first thing I did was to change the masthead of the paper from green to black to signify the mourning of the establishment of our publisher. And so that ended Abacha's reign, and Abdul Salami came on board when Abacha died. And Abdul Salami, I had spoken to General Abdul Salami as head of state and demanded the release of MK Abiola, as well as the NADECO chieftains and every organization in the country and internationally were all pressing for MK Abiola's release. I personally spoke to General Abdul Salami a couple of times, because we had known each other before he became head of state, and he kept assuring me that MKO would be released. But alas, the anticlimax came and MKO died. And a couple of days after MKO's death, General Abdul Salami called me, and he was saying that he was sorry, he couldn't get him released before he died and all of that and all. But that's history now. So, and then I visited him in Aso Rock, and I told him plainly that he had to quickly vacate the seat and bring in a government of national unity, that would be peopled with those who were actually in the vanguard of the struggle for democracy and all that, all of which he agreed to. And he also agreed to release all the other various detainees, the pro-democracy, people who had been detained and all that, and even those who were on exile. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, General Akinriyade, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Soyinka, a whole lot of them on exile, had agreed to release all of them. I had come back home when Abacha reopened my office in 1996, so I was in the country. In any case, General Abdul Salami then brought out a program of a return to civil rule, and he addressed the nation and said his own stay would be brief, and it was actually very brief. It was barely 1 year, and then returned the country to democracy. So in essence, that was, in a nutshell, what happened before democracy came on May 29th, 1999. And shortly before then, after General Abdul Salami had opened the political space for political activities, of course, parties were formed here and there. That's another whole lot of story. But parties were formed, the major ones being the Alliance for Democracy, AD, the PDP, and a host of others. And then Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu came back, after a stormy argument with the Nadeco people in London, in the US, and across Canada and all over the world. A lot of them didn't want to take part in the political activities that ensued. But Asiwaju Tinubu insisted he was coming back to, take part in it. So he came back, and we joined forces together. And I remember he actually came back wanting to go to the Senate, And of course, when he got back, a lot of things happened to change his mind. And I remember he was in my office, myself, Segun Babatokpe, and Tunji Bello, and himself in my office, in Concord then. And we said, look, my own view was that he had to go for the governorship because it will afford us the opportunity of coming to implement the programs and policies and the philosophy of June 12, which we were all part of, but that had been aborted, and he agreed. And then, we took on the whole challenge, and we went into the campaign and all that. He won the election after a very acrimonious primaries and a highly contentious election. He won, and then we started the business of forming a transition committee and subcommittees, for conceptualizing various policies and programs for the incoming Asiwaju Tinubu government. And so the rest is history. That's what happened before 1999. I would say primarily that the main thing responsible for what you see in Lagos State today, the progress and development trajectory of Lagos today, is due to the political system that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu instituted and the enduring structures he put in place starting from 1999. I would say with all sense of modesty that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu's political system is about the only one that I can see in the political firmament of Nigeria since 1999 that has been well grounded philosophically, and ideologically. If you look at the various other political systems in other parts of Nigeria, in other states and other regions of Nigeria, you have what I call an agglomeration of interests, views, groups, forming political parties. Ideally, by definition, that should be it. The political party should be an agglomeration of all of these divergent interests and all that. But the demarcation point with that of the Tinubu system is that those other ones are not grounded in any philosophical framework or ideological, perspective or perception or even inclination. They emerged largely, in my own view, as platforms to protect pecuniary interests, not necessarily platforms for altruistic purposes, for the larger interest of the public, and for the envisioning of deep-seated political structures that would usher in real progress and development, merely platforms for protecting pecuniary interests. And that has been the marked difference between the Tinubu system and those other systems. And that has been the necessary ingredient for the continuity of the Bola Tinubu system in Lagos State. Not necessarily without prejudice to the individuals that have occupied offices in Lagos. It is because of the system, the endurance of the system put in place, which then means that anybody who comes in as a driver of that system would literally have little room to maneuver, but to go forward and build on the structures that he or she meets in place. And so that continuity has largely helped the state, that is Lagos State, in forging ahead with its giant strides, developmental strides, progressive policies and implementation of, social services that seek to make life convenient and comfortable for its inhabitants. That's really the issue, the kernel of the issue, is the philosophical ground norm of the Bola Tinubu political system that has ensured continuity and the focus on the programs and policies that in totality ensure the convenience of Lagosians, and that has attracted people from all walks of life from every other state in Nigeria into Lagos, which is why today Lagos is bustling at the seams with population. Everybody is coming to Lagos because Lagos works. I will say the opposition is at liberty, to spew out inanities and mouth slogans that literally or metaphorically and figuratively mean nothing. It is just in the nature of opposition to criticize whatever it is, because they are also angling to seize power. So whether you are the best performer in the world, your opposition must seek to run you down. So I don't take such things seriously, because you also have to put this opposition and its people into proper perspective and context. What is the track record of achievement of any leading light of this opposition? What? Where? None. Practically none. Or very, very negligible. So therefore, they don't have the basis to make very intellectually rigorous criticism. If you must criticize, you must put in place viable and constructive alternatives. They're not bringing any alternatives to the table. They just say, oh, this man is a one-man rule for 20 years. Compare and contrast in other climes or in other states of Nigeria. What has been the developmental trajectory in those other states? They are all trailing behind Lagos State, which says implicitly there's something good in that so-called one-man rule for 20 years. And I now, coming to the nitty-gritty of it, I will disagree vehemently that it is a one-man rule. No. It is a system. That's why I ab initio analyzed the difference, the major difference between the Tinubu system and those other systems. Because Tinubu has put in a system that is grounded in a forward-looking, progressive, philosophical framework. it has an ideological perspective. Now, when you want to put a system in place, you have to establish the philosophy behind that system. That is the envisioning. What do you seek to achieve? Now, the methodology, how do you seek to achieve it? Right. And then the knowledge. Now, there are 3 attributes of leadership in any climb, a progressive leadership. The attributes are 1, vision. 2, knowledge. 3, the will, which is the courage. Now, you must have the vision. You must be able to envision long-term goals for your society or the milieu in which you operate. You must have the knowledge to translate the vision into reality and to chart the methodology of achieving those goals. And lastly, you must have the will, that is the courage to push through those policies that will achieve your set goals. Now, those 3 attributes are, fortunately for Lagos State, embedded in Bola Tinubu. And the bane of the progress of Nigeria till date has been that we haven't had a leader nationally that has those 3 attributes combined in him. We've had 1 or 2 with one aspect of those 3 attributes or 2 aspects of the attributes, but we haven't been lucky to have one leadership with the 3 major attributes combined in him. We are lucky to have had that in Lagos. Tinubu, I have worked with him. I have known him. I have been with him in the trenches during the Nadeko days before we got into office. I know what the stuff is made of. He is a visionary. He can envision long-term goals. And I'll give you a simple example. Take the revenue of Lagos State, for instance. When we came in 1999, the IGR, the internally generated revenue of Lagos State, was 600 million a month. What we were receiving from the federal government as federal allocation to Lagos State was slightly over 1 billion. Meanwhile, the wage bill alone of the workforce of Lagos, the civil service, was about 1.6 billion. That is excluding the tertiary institutions, the judiciaries, capital expenditure, the administrative charges, and all of that. And then the man put on his thinking cap and he started crafting what we call social engineering, And by the time we were in the executive council and he brought out a memo into the exco for us to discuss about how to make sure that Lagos was put on a path of financial recovery and eventual path of financial independence. We argued for weeks on end on that policy. And he insisted that was the way to go. And we started implementing those, the mechanism that he had put in place. And I remember vividly, at a point in 2005, after we had started implementing those policies and putting the mechanisms in place, the IGR started climbing. It started climbing. And at a point in the Executive Council in 2004 or 5, he did say, quite unequivocally, he said that if we went on implementing those policies at that pace we were going, that the administration or successive administrations that would take over from us will start swimming in money. And it became prophetic. Today, the IGR of Lagos State, where it hovers. There is no state in Nigeria. That is what we call visioning. The guy is a visionary. And he's got the knowledge. And he's got the will, the courage to push through those goals. I remember even there was a particular one to demonstrate the knowledge. We wanted to embark on radical and massive infrastructural development and renewal of the urban centers of Lagos. That was when we proposed dualization of Yaba to Itire-Lawansin. These Awolowo roads that you see there today, Awolowo road was only 2 lanes. We dualized it without demolishing a single structure on Awolowo road. That was close to 20 years ago. And till today, you don't see a single pothole on Awolowo road. Then we embarked on Adeola Odeku there, Akin Adeshola here, and a host of others that we did. But there was no money. And he said, okay, we should go and take short-term loan and hedge against inflation. Because the way he saw things, if we didn't take that short-term loan, the way he was looking at the horizon, the financial health of Nigeria and his situation, inflation was going to rise. We would not be able to afford the materials again. But it was better for us to hedge, take short-term loans, buy all the iron rods necessary, the cement, all the materials for all those construction, so that by the time inflation climbed higher, we would have, amassed all the materials necessary for them. We argued and argued. Those of us who are not financial experts, we argued against it. Even those who were finance people in the ESCO, then Wale Edun was Commissioner for Finance, Yemi Cardoso was Commissioner for Budget and Planning. We confronted Tinubu on it in the Executive Council, and he maintained his stand. We argued and argued and argued. At some point, the rest of us kept quiet. It was left to Wale Tinubu, Wale Edun, the Commissioner for Finance, who also was on our side. He took on the governor too and argued. He was wearing a suit. When the argument ensued and persisted, at some point, he removed his jacket. Wale removed his jacket. And the argument went on. Then he loosened his tie. And then the argument went on. Then he rolled up his sleeves. I remember Mrs. Kemi Nelson was also in cabinet then. Kemi Nelson now said, Wale, at this rate, you will remove your shirt. And we all laughed in the ESCO. That was how hot our Executive Council deliberations were. Because this, when you have a surfeit of professionals and technocrats, and you are also deep yourself, our Executive Council meetings were always like editorial conferences. Contentious. You bring a memo, everybody will draw out the knife and punch holes in your memo. So you must have done your homework before you brought memo to the Executive Council and defend. And everybody will bring ideas. It was an intellectually robust sessions that we had. And so at the end of the day, issues were exhaustively discussed and conclusions were logically reached. And from there, policies were conceptualized, formulated, executed, tracked, and monitored. So the resultant effect is what you have in Lagos today. And that is why Lagos will keep moving ahead. So those who are mouthing one man rule, one man, they are probably quite ignorant or mentally vacuous. Number one, let us establish some parameters and fundamentals. There is no written rule anywhere that says any governor must have 2 terms. Your 2 terms will be dependent on your actions, what you have achieved in your first term. That's to enable you. It's like in the classroom or in the school system. You pass your exams, you move to the next class, and on like that. Now, if your examiners adjudge you not to have passed or made the mark, what do? You don't move to the next class. So that's just a simple analogy. But coming down to brass tacks, I believe that, quite honestly, the outgoing governor committed some fundamental errors of governance, especially in the areas of social service. Now, social service, or the rendering of social services, is the archetypal issue or focus of governance, not necessarily brick and mortar. Brick and mortar, very important. But social services are those things that have commonality that affect people across a broad spectrum. The rich, the poor, the aged, the young, whatever. Social services are those matters that affect the larger proportion of the population. So, when you are governing, you have to be able to achieve a delicate balance between your brick and mortar and the social services. Now, when there is a dislocation or a disequilibrium in this, of this principle, there's a problem. And that's what I will say happened. And of course, the people are also not robots. This is why we call it participatory democracy and not military regime. In a military government, I lived through the military government in Nigeria. The military boys, they will only hear their names on radio or TV as having been appointed governors or ministers or whatever, or even commissioners, right? But it's different in a democratic setting, in a civilian regime. You must be able to carry the populace along as you go along. And this brings me to one crucial factor. When we came in 1999, the Tinubu government, if you recall, my own ministry in particular, the normal nomenclature that we met on ground was Ministry of Information, Sports, Culture, blah, blah. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, we changed it. We reconfigured the ministry. It was for a reason. It wasn't a fluke. It was well thought out reasoning behind it. Because we dispensed with the appendages of sports, of culture, home, whatever, and brought in strategy. So it became Ministry of Information and Strategy. I became the first commissioner for information and strategy in Nigeria. And subsequently, other states copied. Even the private sector, subsequently, because of the kind of acquittal that we displayed, the private sector too started putting strategy into their corporate affairs and strategy, research, development and strategy, public relations and strategy became, a watchword for information people all over the place. But many do not know the philosophical basis for bringing in that strategy into information. And I will tell you, the reason was because under the military, we were the ones that took over from the military immediately. They left. But under the military, there was no need to carry the populace along. They just dished out their policies through edicts and decrees. And woe betide you if you didn't fall in line. But in a civilian dispensation, you must woo the people. You must curry the favor of the people. You must carry the people along in your policy formulation processes and implementation processes, execution processes and monitoring processes. In short, the people must be with you. You must get the buy-in of the people you seek to administer, so that your policies and programs will be well received. You will be assured of the cooperation of the people, and you have less problems, and then you can achieve more in terms of service delivery. So therefore, if you are a governor, even if you had the loftiest ideas, you must be able to carry your people along with you, They must see reason with everything you do. And you must consult widely. The right people and widely. So if there is, like I said, a dislocation in that process, there is a problem. And that's, in my view, accounted largely for what has occurred. And the people have the right to exercise their right of choice. If they are pleased with you, oh yeah, of course you can go on ad infinitum, depending on the restrictions of the Constitution. And if they are not, and they say, and I'm sure you read one of the leaders of APC in Lagos, where that an interview in print, in one of the print newspapers, I think The Nation, he was asked the same question. And he said, no, it had nothing to do with Tinubu, that it was the people. And the people decided they wanted a change. And it is their right. There's nothing you can do about it. There was a primaries, they went out, they voted. Of course, there are influencers in any political environment all over the world. People can influence one way or the other. But the people they are influencing are not robots. If you seek to influence people against their wishes, they will just they will throw you aside and move. And I have always said, and this I have also always said to even the leader, Tinubu himself, the ability to gauge the public mood. I'm a perception manager. It's one of the ingredients of perception management. The ability to gauge the public mood. You must have emotional intelligence with which to gauge the public mood. When you are able to gauge the public mood, a wise leader, if a wise leader wants to go the right direction or to the right, and the people he's leading are clamoring to go to the left, and he has tried to persuade them to go with him to the right, and they refuse, if a smart leader will jump to that left and lead their march to the left, and thus he will retain his leadership. But where he does not have the emotional intelligence to gauge the mood of the people he's leading, and he insists on going the right when the people says they want to go to the left, he will lose his leadership. So when the issue came up and there was a groundswell of agitation for a change, what did you expect Tinubu to do? To say that no, to insist? He would lose his leadership. You have to be a smart leader. It's a normal inclination. It's a normal human inclination. It's absolutely natural. When there is a change of administration, even in your own small office, if you were to change the leadership in your office or change one manager, the people in that department will be expectant. The expectation of the new manager you put in place will rise. It won't be the same. It won't just be dull and bland and placid. No. It's a normal inclination of human beings. For instance, and then you said something about Sanwo-Olu not being known. So why should this expectation be high? BRF was not known. Fashola was not known before he became governor. He was chief of staff. And as a chief of staff, he wasn't a visible part of the administration because he was handling the back end of the governor's office. He wasn't in the glare, public glare as it were. In fact, he was described variously sometimes as an unknown quantity before he became governor, before he ran for the office of... Was Ambode known by the public before he ran for office? No. So it's the same thing. Ambode was in the civil service. He was an accountant general before he retired. And I think he went into his private business. He wasn't in the public glare. Even when he was in the civil service, he was the back end as an accountant general. He wasn't visible. So It's the same thing. In fact, I think Sanwo-Olu even has a relative edge more than the two of them, more than Ambode and Fashola, because those two were relatively unknown before they ran for office. But Jide Sanwo-Olu is relatively known, or was relatively known before he ran for office. Why? Because he had held visible government positions, public positions, visible public positions. He had been commissioner for commerce, commissioner for budget, commissioner for establishment. He had dealt directly with the public. He had to appear in the media. He had to propagate the policies of his ministry at various times. He's had to address, so he, relatively speaking, was much more known publicly than even those other two. So it is natural for the people, or the people's expectation, to rise when there is a change, or when there is a transition from one government to the other. In fact, let's even assume it's the same government. The expectations will still rise. Let's assume it's the same person that is coming in. As long as one administration is ending, another one is starting, people's expectations will naturally rise. And in this instance, like I said, because of the immediate experience in terms of the state of social services in Lagos, it is also natural for the people to expect Sanwo-Olu to come and perform magic in the areas of those social services that they perceive had not been at par, with their expectations. And you can name some of them. I want to wish Babajide Sanwo-Olu a lot of goodwill, heavy dose of goodwill, and good luck, because he needs it. Governing a heterogeneous society like Lagos is not a tea party. I've had the privilege of being, part of it, and I've seen, and given my proximity to the dynamics of Lagos power play since I left school. It's not a tea party, but again, like I said, is well qualified, is mentally equipped, is socially and emotionally stable for it, and he has the knowledge, the intellectual capacity, and the people skills, and above all, humility to see him through. And his deputy is also quite knowledgeable, humble, and all that. So they share a lot of attributes. So I think it's a very fantastic combination, and I think Lagos State is quite lucky to have this team coming in. So I wish Sanwo-Olu, success in all his endeavors, and I would enjoin Lagosians to give him maximum cooperation so that he and his team can take Lagos to the land of El Dorado, which is all our objective.
Well, thank you very much. It's really not a few months now. I was MD of Lagos, the LSDPC. I think I resigned end of August, early September. Right, so yeah, it's been about 9 months now, right? And it's been some sort of an interesting journey. At some point, it seems roller coaster, but one was able to very well stabilize, all of the expectations, my expectations of it. It's been an eye-opening journey, right from you being a candidate, you aspiring to be the governor, you being an aspirant to a candidate, and going through all of the turbulent campaign processes, going around the 20 local government and 37 LCDA, having several meetings, meeting all levels of stakeholders, right? And pretty much selling your campaign material, selling your campaign programs to everyone, letting them understand, what are the different things you are about and the things you're bringing, right? And all of that journey, debates, interviews, meetings, coming down to the proper election itself, and a postponement of an election day, the final election itself, all of the expectations of results coming out, and finally, you being declared winner of the election. And post-election fever, how also we've handled our transition in the last 6 weeks or so now. And it's been pretty interesting. It's been very revealing. It's been very engaging. But we've also created a lot of positive journey out of it. So I will summarize by saying that it's been a journey that God has helped me personally pull through. It's been a journey that I have received a lot of support from a lot of people, from the entire leadership of the party, right, to the teeming population in Lagos, to my friends, my family, right, and to me in particular, understanding and appreciating, what all the journey, is turning out to be. But I imagine that what is ahead is certainly even much more than what is behind us. So we just need to forward look it and expect that a lot more greater and mightier things are ahead of us. You said when my candidate was announced, it wasn't announced. I came out, and a process. We had a process, in the party, So the emergence of the flag bearer of the party, sort of like through a sense of belief in what the party was trying to achieve, which was given power to the teeming party flag bearers at that time. So it wasn't such a very difficult call. It was just that a lot of people probably did not have an idea of my previous experience in governance, right? So it wasn't turbulent, right? It was something that I was certain about, right? But I had a lot of support coming out from that, which for me was humbling, right? And moving from there, we believed that we needed to convince Lagosians. We didn't ever believe or imagine that victory was a done deal. No, we needed to roll up our sleeves and get to speak to every Lagosian, every stakeholder that truly wants to hear us, all the nooks and crannies of the state, visiting almost every part that we can identify, right? And imagining that we communicated well, we sold our programs well, and we run a campaign that people have said that they've never seen anything like that in the whole political environment of the country before, right? So that was what we've done, right? And if you've worked so very hard like that, and you get a result or you get a victory at the end of the day, well, I think you just need to thank God for that and thank the people that have supported you, throughout that whole journey. I would rely on what those 50 people have said about me. It will be unfair for me, being the same judge in my own court. Let it be what they have said about me that will hold forth, not what I will say about myself, right? Let my work, let it speak for what I truly, really believe, I'm up to and what God has granted me. So let it be a surprise to me. Let me also sit back and get to hear what those 50 people or so that you said you've interviewed, what they've said about me. And I'm sure it will be very refreshing for me personally to hear what they've all said.
Let me first of all say that I'm not here to flatter him. Anything I say here is the way it actually is. And that's the way I feel about him. I worked with HE Sanwo-Olu for roughly 4 years in the banking industry. He was a treasurer at a point, and then later on he became the general manager for investment banking. In all these years, he was assigned very sensitive responsibilities and in very sensitive positions. Positions that could only be held by someone that you trust, someone that has character and integrity. He was in Treasury Department, the life wire of any bank. You could not just pick anybody from the street. You have to put somebody you trust, somebody who's reliable and who has competence. And Jide was a thoroughbred professional. I was quite impressed with him because of the way he took his job. He took his job seriously. In the course of the years, we worked together as Treasury. And if you speak to any bank MD, he will tell you that the closest relationship he has with any of his staff will be first his Treasury manager, and second his foreign exchange manager. Jide and I had close relationship. We worked together as a team. I respect his level of judgment, his decision-making capability, and his competence level. And that's why I didn't hesitate when I was appointed deputy governor to request him to come along with me, because I needed somebody at that level who I could trust to work with me going into a new job. So in the public sector, he creditably delivered himself. I didn't have any problem with him whatsoever. In the private sector. In the public sector, we just practically continued where we left. He was at first my advisor, and he advised very well. We worked together in several assignments given to us by the governor, and I didn't have any reason to complain about him at all. At a point in time, I felt that he needed higher responsibility, so I personally approached the governor to humbly and kindly elevate him to the level of a cabinet rank special advisor, and the governor obliged. And from then onward, he worked directly with the governor. But throughout our tenure, he was a very, very good public officer, and I really didn't have any reason to complain about his performance. So I believe that he discharged himself creditably well. Well, 20 years of Lagos State has been years of progress and tremendous development. There's no doubt about it. If you grow up in Lagos or you're born in Lagos, you will see the marked difference between then and now. There's been giant strides. This has happened basically because there has been continuity in governance. The foundation was laid properly by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We actually had a blueprint for development of Lagos, which was the Eyigbeti program that was held every year between 1999 and I think about 2009 or 2010 before it was stopped. So this really formed the bedrock of developmental efforts by Lagos State. What has changed between then and now is a tremendous influx of people into Lagos. The multitude, the population has grown tremendously, in fact, geometrically beyond anybody's imagination. So the state is being so burdensome under a weight of demands by its populace that it could not meet. Revenue growth has not been able to match up with developmental needs of the state. So this has created a lot of problems. The second issue is the leapfrogging technology. The state has not been able to keep up with the technology advancement of the rest of the world. And one of the reasons behind this is also because of a large influx of people that's coming to Lagos. It's extremely very difficult to cope with the challenges of environment, housing, transportation, congestion, education and healthcare, providing education and healthcare for the populace. These are the challenges that incoming Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu will meet. However, if you follow his campaign very well, he has the campaign slogan called Theme, which spelled out many of these areas that I've mentioned. And because he's very, very well prepared to meet these challenges, because he has walked through the system, he knows that every year, if we don't leapfrog, these problems will catch up with us, and it'll be more difficult to overcome. So I think he's very much ready. I've had several discussions with him. I've listened to him when he was campaigning. I've had him on TV and radio, and I know that he's ready to face these issues frontally, particularly the issue of transportation, the gridlock Lagosians face every day, the environmental challenges that Lagos face, the problem of education, the large influx and the young population, particularly youth employment, and creating job opportunities for them. I'm sure he's very much aware of all this, and is ready, very much ready to cope. So I think that 20 years to date, a lot has changed. Developmentally, Lagos has grown. Challenges have also multiplied. And the technology advancement the world has experienced is very much around in Lagos. But the state has not really caught up with that advancement. And Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who is a child of technology, he grew up in the midst of technology, his entire career has been along that line. I'm sure he's ready to take up the mantle of leadership and do things that will make Lagos be at par with the rest of the world. Well, my advice is very simple. He should remain true to himself. Don't allow the office to change him. He should stay focused, and he should stay in the place of prayers at all times.
My name is Mrs. Caroline Odo. I worked with Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation. I retired just 2017.
Yes, my name is Tunde Falashe. I'm the MD of Braincraft. We're a consulting firm. And I'm here because I'm also a former classmate of our governor-elect for Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu.
My name is Engineer Jude Opala, and I'm the MD of an engineering company called Cliche Limited. We are into civil engineering, precision engineering, and metal component production.
My name is Adegoke Omotola. I'm the CEO of First Degree Consulting, management consulting firm.
I'm Mrs. Omolara Ogunkoya.
Okay, my name is Mr. Bolade Daranijo.
Yes, my name is Babajide Benson. I'm a member of the Federal House of Reps. I represent the finest constituency in Lagos State, Ikorodu Federal Constituency.
Well, we happen to be classmates in when we were in Unilag doing our executive MBA. That was 1998. He was doing his finance, MBA specializing in finance, while I was doing my MBA specializing in management, general management.
He's my friend.
He's a long-time friend. We've been friends for about 30 years.
He's been a great mentor and a big brother. I've known him for a couple of years now. I've always liked his, I've always loved his antecedents, his pedigree. He comes with a lot of work experience. He's worked in the private sector, he's worked in the public sector. And I remember what, I can't remember his name now, the MD of McKinsey, the big consultancy firm. He said the best CEOs now in the world are people who have tri-sector experience. So Mr. Jide Sanwo-Olu comes with a lot of that. He's worked in the private sector, public sector, and he's done some social work. So he's somebody I also look up to. He exudes wisdom, he exudes capacity, and I'm sure he's bringing something fresh and new to Lagos State.
Babajide was my classmate, MBA, 1998-2000 at Unilag. We did the course together for about 2 years, and we graduated together. That was how I got to know him.
He's a friend, and he's also a brother. Well, we're actually classmates in an MBA school, and from what I can recollect, even while we were in class, he was a stickler for time. He was also a leader, and he was also someone who had the ability to pull people together. He led by, in terms of ideas, was quite knowledgeable, and I have excellent memories. And even now, I mean, from what I can see, I strongly believe that Lagosians should be excited, and expectant. There is really going to be a lot of transformation, and it's going to lead by example. Yes, that I know. Well, I've known him for about 20 years.
Friend of almost 30 years.
Yeah, like I said, he was very intelligent. And I know he's going to, showcase that intelligence in these 4 years. I expect him to be more organized. I expect him to be more focused. I expect him to carry everybody along. And I know Lagos is such a place that if you're not focused, you may not be able to, do what you're supposed to do. We all live in Lagos. But I know with his education, with his experience, with his intelligence, he's going to do wonders for Lagos State. That I know.
I think it would be almost all the C's that I mentioned. BOS doesn't strike me as a person who's going to rush and then assess the consequences of those actions later. His actions are going to be quite deliberate. They're going to be quite considered. It bears mentioning that on one of our group chats, one of the things we saw a couple of weeks ago was BOS preparing himself, for this new role, attending a leadership class at the Harvard School of Leadership. So it speaks to the type of person he is. Right. I know that BOS will have legacy in mind. This is not a small mantle he's taken on, but I know that he's not coming there to enjoy a role. I know he's coming there to deliver a role. And I think Lagosians therefore should look out and expect a person who has legacy in mind, which is one of the things that you look forward to in the great leaders of today.
I think to start with, I tell Lagosians that they are going to expect a total change in governance in Lagos State. Expect new ideas, expect surprises, pleasant surprises, because Jide will always like to keep his good ideas within his chest and throw them out when you least expect that. But at the end of all, you come out very, very surprised, positively surprised and excited. So we should expect positive change. We should expect dynamism in governance. We should also expect some seriousness. Seriousness in the sense that he's going to bring the clarity he has in first assignment in the financial industry. Is going to bring that to the way things are interpreted in Lagos State. So I tell Lagosians that they're very, very lucky to have Jide, and they should expect that there will be a total change in the way things are done, and we are going to see seamless approach to governance.
Well, I think the next 4 years is going to be quite interesting. The programs and initiatives of His Excellency, I believe they will have a human face, and they will also have a sort of balance in terms of reaching out to every segment of Lagosians. I mean, whether it's business, whether it's a market woman, whether it's professionals, whether, you know. So I believe that there's going to be a lot of dynamism, and from the get-go. So Lagosians should be excited, they should be expectant, and at the end of the 4 years, I believe that there'll be so much to show for he's been in the office, and I believe that he'll be able to leave a legacy that will endure.
Well, if you look at the way the campaign was carried out, you'll see that it's a whole new dimension. It's not, you know, the usual, everybody's going to stadium, you know, the crowd is following them, and then, you know, they just make some noise and retire back to their homes. This one, he tried to touch all the groups, all the professional groups, all the local groups, the yaologers, the bankers, the Igbo traders. It's like he touched everywhere. And that's why we saw that kind of result, that he had a landslide victory.
Lagosians will expect a very successful time, a very brilliant time, and I think he will be the best that Lagos has ever had.
Well, I know that a lot have been done on the infrastructure. There are still more to be done on the infrastructure. Then that's one. Infrastructure which may include road network. Because we all live in Lagos, you know what we're going through. So he should focus on that. I know there may be some resistance, but if you focus on infrastructure, on road network, it's going to perform wonders.
Yes, I've said it, that he's a trisector athlete. A trisector athlete is somebody who can view things from 3 lenses or 3 dimensions. So I think he has the capacity. He's worked, if you look at his history, he's worked in, I think he worked in a couple of banks. He was treasurer. He's worked in the critical sectors of the public space. He was commissioner for budget and planning, establishment, and was MD of LSDPC. So that gives him the requisite skill and tools to be able to add value to what he's met on the ground.
Honestly, when I heard that he came out as a governor, I was so shocked myself, because in a class, though he was very intelligent, but he was like an introvert on the quiet side. So I was so shocked when I learned that he's going to be contest for a governorship. I was just, wow. But I know during that period, his brain, he's intelligent. He doesn't look for trouble. He's so quiet. You know, so not knowing that, you know, I don't know what to say. He was a smooth operator because he was very intelligent. In fact, most of the things we do at times, he solves problems for us.
When I heard that BOS, as we know him, had won this election, I was really quite excited, because I had the privilege of being his classmate for 18 months in the MBA class at University of Lagos. And he has always impressed me with certain qualities that he brings to bear. If I was to summarize those, I would say that in class, BOS was always very composed. He was always very calm. He was also very considered in terms of his contributions. So he was a man of good contributions, and they were also very deliberate considerations. So he was somebody that stood out for being very deliberate in his thinking. So the class actually did good by having BOS as a member of the class. And it's a bit of a paradox, because it's almost from one legacy to another. I was the first class governor of that class, and to then go on to hear that he's now becoming the governor of the biggest and perhaps the most considered state in Nigeria, I think does him an honor. And of course, it also does we, his classmates, an honor as having been part of what we hope is the shaping of BOS.
It was jubilation all the way. Like you know, I'm the chairman of the alumni. And the first thing we did was we celebrated him in absentia, first of all. Okay, and after celebrating him, of course, reaching him to tell him that we are so happy to have him in that position was very, very easy. It was a very nice moment. It was a thing of pride to most of us that one of ours has been picked for such a sensitive and important position. So it was a very big excitement for all of us.
Well, I was a bit surprised because I didn't see him as someone who was a politician. But I think it's a good thing. The more of its kind that we have in the space, it will encourage others, who are just still contemplating to come and add value. And Nigerians are a bit shy. I mean, professionals are a bit shy when it comes to politics. But I believe that the time has come, particularly now, for professionals to come into political space and bring to bear their professional experience so that Nigerians can benefit, long term.
I was really excited. I knew that the energy he put into banking and even the work he started with Lagos State, I know that Lagos State will be the greatest beneficiary of his agility and his intelligence and his uprightness. To a very large extent, I'll tell you, he's a very upright person.
I was extremely surprised because I did not expect that, because I didn't know what the process is, but I thought that for anyone to have looked to choose someone such as that, there must have been a very deep thought, as in his qualities are inbuilt, and he's always striving to develop himself. He's always developed himself to a point where I thought, wow, if Lagos ever got a guy like this, it would be bliss for Lagos.
Oh, I was extremely happy because fortunately, LSDPC breeds super intelligent people, which I am one. I used to be the company secretary, legal advisor of LSDPC before he assumed office as the MD. So anybody that comes out of that institution, that establishment, comes with a rich pedigree of experience and capacity to change things positively.
I think personally, it would just quite simply be, the biggest thing perhaps would be the quality of life. And when I say the quality of life, I cheat in a way, since you said one thing, but quality of life allows me to speak about a variety of things. We do know that Lagos probably is the envy of all the states, but this does not hide some opportunities that people like BOS will be able to address. We start from the seemingly mundane. What people are talking about at the moment is almost a distraction. In a megacity like Lagos, we shouldn't be talking about roads and potholes and the like. I know these are things that, with considered leadership, are likely to be a thing of the past, and then we can focus on the things that actually touch the common man on the street. Ease of doing business, the quality of life, the comfort of life. When you go home to your home, your haven, are you proud of the fact that your home is in Lagos State because of the things that your governor has brought to bear for you? I think with BOS, we can expect to see these things brought to bear. Power supply. Now, this might be a federal thing, but then a state governor also has his contributions in terms of some of the directions that those take. Transport. We're already seeing some steps in Lagos State, no doubt. We expect these to get even more deliberate and touch the lives of people who count, the real Lagosians who are making Lagos the vibrant city that it is. So I wouldn't choose one thing. I would offer BOS a basket, because he's capable. He has been tempered by the right type of fires. He has gone through the institutions and the work experiences, banking, public service. So this is a time for a leader like BOS to step forward and deliver, what Lagos is really looking for. And I have every confidence that we will be seeing exciting things, lasting things, sustainable things coming from BOS.
Electricity. He has worked with former Governor Fashola, who is the minister in charge of power now. And I know that he knows what Lagosians need. And he's going to use that his relationship to let Lagosians benefit immensely.
A very amiable guy. When we were in school, we used to look up to him as someone very, there are some of us that are very scattered. You know what I mean? You're coming late, you're looking for seats here and there, but you come in and this gentleman will always be there to make sure he takes his notes, makes his submission in time, and everybody was looking up to him to say, oh, I want to do my work like Jide. He's just an embodiment of what it takes to be a total manager. And if you're looking for who should take care of Lagos State, that I think we got the right person. When we were in school, we used to look at him as somebody that has a very bright future, in the sense that we're looking at him like somebody that was so together that he could hold very sensitive positions and get things working. And we are very glad. In fact, that's why we're celebrating him today. Very glad that he didn't disappoint any of us.
Mr. Sanwo-Olu, he's a calm, focused, intelligent gentleman. Regarding Lagos, I think Lagos has got the best that they would ever get, because this is someone who is calm and does not agitate even under pressure. His demeanor might show that he listens to everybody. He will take all the information that 1,000 people have, absorb it, digest it, and bring out the best of it.
He's a go-getter. And nothing stops him from getting what he wants to get if he believes in it. That's the impression I've always had of him since our very early money market days. And the Money Market Association of Nigeria is an association of treasurers in those days when we had about 89 banks. And among those people, you'll find people that would not keep their words. And the motto of the money market is, your word is your bond. So for a lot of us that know that integrity matters, we were really able to get along a lot. Even when the banks had problems, people like Jide and a handful of others, we were still together. Because even though the banks had problems, we, the treasurers, knew that we had a relationship that would even transcend the banks. So that was the relationship we had those days.
Of course, the relationship continued. As together as he was, I keep using the word together, as complete as he was a down-to-earth person, keeping in touch with all his old folks. The relationship continued because while he was also working in the past government in Lagos State, we were keeping in touch. He was someone that could open his door to you at any time, so long as you're coming with positive ideas. So he was always, because he knew how we all toiled together to bring out results in our academic works, he was looking forward to meeting his old friends and tapping ideas, gathering ideas from them. So it continued up to this very moment, and that's why you could call upon him this very moment, and he would, very easily come and share quiet time with his friends.
We, as his classmates, we have to pray for him, because Lagos State is not a state anybody can rule anyhow. He can easily be distracted. My advice to him is that he should have focus as he has been. If he does, he's going to be able to do wonders and transform Lagos from what it is now. There are too many jobs to be done in Lagos State. And if you're somebody as a governor, you're not focused, you don't have vision, you may not be able to achieve what you're supposed to achieve.
I'm glad to be here. As I said, it's been a journey. I last saw BOS 20 years ago. Yes. From the pictures I see of him, he's looking even younger, perhaps, than when we last saw. But I'm really proud of him. As I said earlier on, I used to be the class governor. Now I stand behind him as he becomes my governor. So I look forward to his time.
My closing remark is one, to wish him well. Pray for him also, as we have been praying for him. And also looking forward to, in fact, I'm full of expectation, looking forward to the energy he's going to unleash on Lagos State. So that's my prayer for him. I also wish him, I wish that he enjoys this position, because in everything, everybody should enjoy whatever he finds himself doing or herself doing.
I just wish him well. I wish him well in office. And I also trust that God will give him the grace to carry the responsibility, such a huge responsibility. And our prayers will always be with him to excel and do well in the office.
Well, I know that he has made a lot of promises to a lot of people. I just want to assure them that he's a man of his words, and that in the fullness of time, they would know who he is and they will appreciate him even more.
I just wish him a very successful tenure, and I pray that the Lord will be with him throughout his time.
Yes, I'm happy that he's our #1 citizen in Lagos. I know he's going to add value. I know he's going to ensure that the GDP of Lagos increases and improves. And I'm sure he's going to put Lagos in the pride of place of world smart cities.
Well, I mean, it will be like taking the bag out of the, cat out of the bag, right? Let it be, an opportunity that all Lagosians will hear at once, at the same day, at the same announcement. The first 100 days will certainly be a time where we believe we can solve issues that we consider low-hanging, issues that we consider things that we can quickly really resolve. The first 100 days will be time where we need to reflect and bring about clear policy direction on how we want to run. The first 100 days also will see things around, all of the appointments that we need to have, all of the various square holes and square pegs that we need to put together. Those are some of the things that will happen. But as into what I will do on day 3 and day 17 and day 29 and day 66, I would want to have on a national TV talk to Lagosians about that, and let's have a clear-cut timeline. It's not only about me, it certainly will be about a team, right? I'm not in there yet. I have a fair idea of what it's all about. I have a wider understanding of what it's all about, But definitively, we know that in the first 3 months or thereabout, we need to just resolve some certain issues that are critical to Lagosians in traffic management, policies around health, on education, all of the programs we will have around transportation, all of the policies we need to design, right, to evolve a growing economy and a megacity economy, like Lagos. Those are kind of the things that you will see, right? And the ones that we believe, working with the public sector, working with the whole organs of government, that will action and deliver. We will spell it out once we're coming.
Well, it's a myth, as you call it, because there's no ambiguity. The role of the deputy governor is clearly defined in the Constitution. In fact, every aspect of the Constitution that deals with the governor deals with the deputy governor. The way the governor is elected is the way the deputy governor is elected. The way the governor could be removed is the same way the deputy governor could be removed. The only aspect that is different, the responsibility of the governor and his powers and authority, is clearly defined in the Constitution. But that of the deputy governor just say one word, as assigned by the governor. It then means that the deputy governor is actually the second in command in the administration, but subordinate to the governor. And his responsibility is as assigned by the governor. From my own perspective, I had a wonderful time as deputy governor. I had very important and sensitive roles to perform the governor gave me, and he supported me. And of course, I aligned myself absolutely with the programs and policies of the administration during our tenure. So there wasn't really much of a problem. But the truth must be told. The nation is littered with issues of governors and deputy governors being at loggerheads. Even during my own time, at the tail of our administration, I had issues with the governor, basically on the issue of succession, not as per my role as deputy governor. I didn't have any problem whatsoever with the governor. So it all depends on the attitude and character of the deputy governor, and of course the way he perceives and sees his role. Some deputy governor might think that they are equal to the governor, or they may want to be competing with the governor. It's not the case. That's why the word deputy comes before governor. It's deputize. It's more like the second in command and subordinate to the governor. So I don't think there's any ambiguity at all.
I expect to have a fantastic relationship, right? Thank God my deputy governor is also my friend, right? I've known him for close to 20 years now. Yes, I mean, as individuals of various backgrounds, of varied backgrounds, yeah, we might have understanding differences, or we might have issues that we just need to straighten out, which is natural with anybody. But I can assure you that whatever it is, we will resolve it very quickly. We will, espouse ideas and opinions, and I imagine, that at the end of the day, right, Lagosians will be better off for it. There certainly would not be any doubts in the minds of Lagosians that our government will be a government of rift. No, Lagosians want you to solve their own problems for them. Lagosians want you to make life a lot easier for them, right? And that's what we'll be doing. Femi and I, we know what the job entails, right? And for whatever reason, if there are disagreement, if it has to do with the job, we will resolve it. We will certainly resolve it and we'll move on, right? So there's nothing for us to be worried about or to be panicky about or to have side talks about. No, the jobs are clear, the roles are well defined. The cooperation is very deep. The engagement will be very robust, and the relationship is way beyond now, right? And we hope to keep it like that.
I think those who are saying that I will categorize them as belonging to the class of those you call the opposition, saying that one-man rule and all that. They're just mentally vacuous at best, or merely playing to the gallery to attract attentions to themselves for their own ulterior motives. Yes, I'm sure it's the governor of Kaduna State that brought this one into focus recently from the lecture or whatever it is, that he came to give in Lagos and said those statements. Let us define what exactly is Godfatherism. Even in religion, isn't there a Godfather? Even when you have a newborn baby or child, a lot of family members aggregate together, they're giving names and all that, and some are labeled, I'm his godmother or godfather and stuff like that. So even in religion, there is Godfatherism. And more so in politics. Everywhere in the world, my own understanding of Godfatherism in the esoteric format is somebody who helps somebody to achieve or to climb a ladder, either social, intellectual, business, whatever ladder, to climb can be regarded as a godfather. If I'm in a position to help you succeed, progress, or develop, then I can be labeled your godfather. That is in the esoteric form, in the positive form. Now, when you now say Godfatherism in a negative context, that is what we don't have here. Awolowo, the sage, our revered sage in this part of the country, he was a godfather. How? He bred many leaders. He gave birth, not biologically, but he gave birth to many leaders. He created platforms that enabled several other leaders to flourish. That's a godfather. So if you refer to Asiwaju Tinubu as a godfather, then I will put him in that mold of a godfather because he has also bred leaders. He has created a system, a platform that has enabled scores, myriad of people and leaders to flourish. But when you put it in a negative form of the El-Rufai format, we don't have that there. And I also want to throw a question. El-Rufai himself, can he say honestly in good conscience that he is not a beneficiary of godfathers? Has he not had people who helped him to climb the political ladder? Who was El-Rufai before Atiku brought him out and took him to BP, Bureau of Public Enterprises at that time, which led to his being noticed by Obasanjo? Was he Obasanjo's younger brother? Did Obasanjo pluck him from his cubicle to come and make him minister? Somebody gave him a platform to get noticed before Obasanjo took him on and made him a minister. So Atiku was his godfather, Obasanjo was his godfather, and now Buhari is his godfather because we have seen him actually genuflecting before Buhari, kneeling down and paying obeisance like this. There are pictures of him doing that to Buhari. And in fact, it is common knowledge anyway that he rode on the political wing of Buhari to become governor of Kaduna State. That's not debatable. You know it in Kaduna. So is he himself not a beneficiary of that godfatherism that he seeks to denigrate? And he said that he had retired some godfathers in Kaduna. I do not know of any godfather that he retired in Kaduna. I do not know of any godfather that helped him into office in Kaduna, or on whose back he rode into office in Kaduna, that he retired. Except if he meant Senator Shehu Sani that he fought. Shehu Sani himself would never label himself a godfather. Or Hunkuyi, whose house he demolished, that one will not call himself a godfather. And I don't think any other person will call those ones a godfather. So I don't know the godfathers that he retired in Kaduna to justify his rhetorics. So I think he was only playing to the gallery to draw attention to himself. You know, again, it was like Awolowo when at one of Awolowo's, on one occasion, one of his birthdays, when the then head of state, General Badamasi Babangida, wrote him a birthday letter and called Awolowo the issue in Nigerian politics. He said Awo was the issue in Nigerian politics, which meant Awo was very, very important, that whatever was happening in the country, you had to think of what would Awo say, what will he do, and all that. So he was the issue in Nigerian politics. Tinubu has become the issue in Nigerian politics. So if you want to attract attention to yourself, the easier route is to take a pot shot at Tinubu, so that you will draw attention to yourself for your own ulterior motive. That is my own response to.
The idea behind Lagos Praise is very simple. I was very involved in the campaign. Post-campaign, post-results, elections announced, one could see the idea. We had crossed the hurdle of the ability, the competence, the skills of the candidate and his deputy. And the idea was, what next? On reflection, one looked at the challenges confronting Lagos. Lagos has an enormity of challenges in the various areas identified in Project Theme. And what occurred to me is we need to support this administration in the place of prayer. Now, that's not to take away what is necessary. We're not hiding under a guise of prayer in Lagos Praise. We're saying we have seen that Lagos as a state, Lagosians, the people of Lagos, the city of Lagos, needs to be covered in a blanket of prayer 24/7. And that's what we intend to do. An interdenominational prayer group inviting all Christians from all walks of life to pray continuously for Lagos. As it is said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray. And that's what we're doing. We are praying for the city. We are praying for the land. We will organize prayer walks at strategic sites, strategic areas of the city. We will gather in places. We will pray online. Already our social pages, our WhatsApp group, all buzzing with that daily prayer. And we intend to go on online daily, every morning, prayers for Lagos and the leaders of Lagos, that God will give them the requisite wisdom needed for a time such as this, to take Lagos to a greater level, for us to be able to realize that dream, to make the dream for a greater Lagos a reality. Lagos Praise is simple. It's direct. It's prayer for Lagos. It's 24/7 prayers. It's gathering people to say, let's just pray the next level for the city.
Thank you very much. You are right that this is the first time in the past 20 years that we have this kind of scenario. It's quite unfortunate that it happens that way. But in our case in APC, we take seriously the affairs of the general populace and members of the party, especially the downtrodden ones. We had a series of experiences in the course of this administration that has just exited. We'll be exiting in the next 1 or 2 weeks. However, the affairs of the general PSP people, that is the elderly women, men, the sweepers, and those that are actually operating on these trucks, Yes, the idea of removing all the street sweepers from the roads and then incapacitating the PSP operators gave the leaders of the party a serious concern. And as you can see, there is so much garbage almost in every nook and crannies of the state, which turned the state almost to the point where it was as during the period of the military, when Ashwaju came in before restructuring the pattern of how we evacuate refuse from all the homes. Deviating from that gave us a bad image, both locally and internationally. And during that period, there was a fear of Lassa fever, because rats are beginning to have a place of abode in all these debris that are all over the state. So they brought in the Visionscape. The concept of which Visionscape brought into the state is quite different from the kind of revenue we generate. They might have been very effective in the area, but here in Nigeria, it is not as effective as we expected in Lagos State. With that, there was concern from the leaders, and they felt that they were not consulted, neither were the intention was made known until these people came into the state. It appears that they don't even know their terrain. The operations was not as effective as it could have been. So that was what gave the final straw to the patience of the leadership. So later they actually closed down Loma headquarters by removing all the staff back to Alausa, and as if they are going to start a new process. And that is itself gave the PSP operators concern, and they started protesting. So with that, the leadership now felt that, well, we were informed that the incumbent was invited and matters were discussed with him, but it yielded no positive result. At that point, they felt that, well, if given the opportunity for a second term, it may be an adverse, damaging effect on the party itself. So that was how they took that decision. And it was not even the present governor-elect alone that was considered. There is a screening process. It just happens to be the one that emerged at the final stage. There was a screening process of which he himself doesn't even know. There are people that they put on the line, and they screened their antecedents in terms of their professional skills and the ability to govern Lagos State with all this antecedents. And then the governor-elect also had been through the mill in the public service, so he wasn't a novice. So he knew exactly all the nitty-gritty that it needs to be known. Is equally a professional. So that opportunity came to his doorstep. And I can assure you that when he was initially informed, he was dumbfounded, because he couldn't even speak for the first 25 minutes or so, because it didn't hit him with surprise. But like a person, you have to take up the challenge. You have been given an assignment which people believe that you have the capacity to manage. So there's no way you can now turn back and say, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. And put your talent to scale and put all your ability at it with the support of your peers and the general public. you'll be able to achieve success. But one thing is that don't allow power to consume you. Because at the bottom line, one is responsive to the generality of the populace. So that was how he emerged. Very quiet, humble, intelligent, diligent, and responsible. I have no doubt he will meet the challenges and he will even surpass what expectation everybody is looking at. But one thing for sure is that he's going to meet a huge challenge on ground. He needs to restructure the entirety of the public service. He needs to put a structure in place going back the memory lane of what happened in 2006 when civil service was restructured. Some ministries that are very cogent to the needs of the generality of the rural areas had been abrogated or scrapped. They need to be resuscitated. All our parastatal organizations need to be properly monitored for effectiveness of discharge of their responsibilities. Not necessarily because the ministry are supposed to be supervisory ministry. There must be an independent body that will have to monitor the activities. That was how and why things were moving at a very fast pace during the era of Bola Ahmed Tinubu's and Fashola. One thing is that by scrapping it, you don't even look at the effect of it. Then you subsume them under a ministry that have a wider responsibility without looking back. In Lagos area metropolis today, you have a high level of people migrating from the rural setting to Lagos. That's why you have overcongestion. Many people sleep under the bridge because they want to come for greener pastures. Things that are supposed to go to them in their own area has been taken away, so they have to struggle to get back to Lagos. Most of them don't even have any place or people to come and meet here. If you go around Igomu area, you see so many of them sitting on the floor, or sleeping on the street there. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and do a proper restructuring of the service in order to meet the challenges that will bring a holistic approach of development to the entirety of the state, not one segment of it. So I'm sure a lot of things is going on now, trying to reinvent the wheel of progress. I think with the work that they have done so far in terms of preparatory for taking over the mantle of leadership here in the state, they have looked into an area where they can incorporate some new agenda into the old 10-point agenda that was being used by the two earlier in civilian administration besides that of Jakonde. Jakonde too came in with a focus. Definitely there must be a drive that we need to do. And there must be something we call continuity. Like the governor-elect has said, he's not going to abandon any project that this present administration has done. He's going to incorporate the old administration's project, which have been abandoned for quite some time, revive them, because it's the public fund that were used in developing all these projects for the benefit of the generality of the populace. We just don't set it aside as if nothing has happened. Even if we are setting it aside, the populace know that these structures are there. So I think it's time that we must not try to be in the position where we have to set a project, people-oriented project, obey for the purpose of our own personal something. So. Well, we are going to move at a very fast pace. That I know that administration is determined to do. Although the magnitude of the financial position of the state will have to be properly determined. Nobody knows whatever the position of finance of the state is at the moment until final taking over and you begin to see or examine volume of debts that have been owed to contractors, stages of things that are happening within the ministerial structures, things of that nature, and what are the needs that are actually need to be improved upon. All those aspects has to be looked into, determine what the volume of finance base that we have before you can now project how you are going to do or tackle the project. You know, the Lagosians are very, very restless. They are expecting miracle to happen overnight. So we must also challenge ourselves to meet the needs of these people so that they don't feel disappointed. And I'm sure they will never be in this circumstance. That is the expectation of the general populace. He has not even told anybody that he's coming out of wrong. But that is what the people want. So people are flying that kite. Unfortunately, some people are jittery about it. But you cannot throw away a gold or a diamond for just a raw iron. So if the man is capable of pulling Nigeria out of his dead wood, then there's nothing stopping him. He's a Nigerian, he has the qualification, he has the expertise, he has the knowledge, and he's open to the people. So there are so many qualities that the man has that others don't have. So they cannot just adjudge him by trying to blackmail him that they cannot come out, because that's what exactly people were trying to preempt. But I'm sure when the time comes, we all will see what the population will say. Godfatherism is not a question of just picking or just pushing any kind of person. What I tell you that some people are jittery is exactly what is happening with El-Rufai's statement. I want to know how El-Rufai retained his own governorship candidacy. Is it the best material in the north? It's part of the cabal. So he cannot come and tell us here in Lagos that we have Godfatherism. Yes, Ashwaju mentored so many people. And you can see the quality of the people that he has mentored. They are not just riffraffs. They are people that can stand their ground anywhere. So definitely, it's not a question of God. If you are good, you are good. If you are not good, you are just not good. So it's not a question of you want to lobby me to become something that you cannot even manage. So these are things that I believe that he should manage his own Kaduna that he has turned into a war zone, than coming here to Lagos to come and tell us exactly what we are doing. We can't, if we put Lagos State on the same pedestal with Kaduna, is it telling me that Lagos State is far behind Kaduna, or they are still coming here to Lagos to come and learn what we do? So I'm very certain that we are not complaining, really. If it's Godfatherism, we love it. I think it's progressive Godfatherism, and we love that. So we are okay by what we are doing. Well, I want to wish the incoming governor-elect a very successful tenure. And I want to advise him that he should listen to advice and don't allow people that will surround him to mislead him into something that will try to damage the image of his government.
After 20 years of democracy, the conception on every Lagosian's mind is the unprecedented growth the state has continued to see. From 1999 till date, the state has had 3 governors, 2 have had 2 tenures, and 1 a single tenure. The candidate, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, when running, was the candidate on everyone's mind, and now he has won the elections. Let's see what people on the streets of Lagos have to say about him and the expectations they have for the new Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration. Join me for this wonderful interview.
I'm a market seller. I sell ugu, egusi, ogbono, oil, fish, stockfish, crayfish. You should build a shop for us. Give us a place to sell our market. You should stop all this agboro to disturb us so that we can make our own money, so that poor people can live life well.
Me, I like the new government you come to in this Lagos. I like the money me I give them for the area bus for this size. I want to, like this government, you reduce the money, or if you are so able to top or to collect the money completely, if you are so reduce the money, if you are so they pay 700 every day, almost 700. I want to the government make it reduce the money or less than 300 or 400 like this one. The area boys can disturb person any Okada for this road. Sometimes I go beat person, you carry bottleneck for the check for the another person. The Okada people for this area, you can collect up too much for the area boss for this size.
The governor is still under the platform of APC, and I'm very sure they have their structure on ground, and I think any governor that is coming in is still working on their plans. I think we are still going to have a great Lagos, and we are expecting much, which we believe is going to deliver. I think the most challenges we have here is electricity, which everybody is clamoring, and not only the people staying here in Lagos, other investors that are coming to Lagos. The most challenges they always clamor for, electricity, which we believe when it come in as a governor of Lagos State, I think that is the major thing we expect him to tackle first before other things. People like us now that we are struggling for our daily bread, that we struggle on our own, we are self-employed. I think what we are expecting from him, most especially our people that were doing this kind of the job I'm doing, most of them always clamor. They need money to push forth their business, which there's no money. So I think if there can be a scheme for people like us who can come and borrow money, and they can set a panel that can monitor the job, and as the money is going, so that we can be remitting back to maybe the scheme they have set to be helping people like us, and other people who also need money to actually empower their business. So I think that is the expectation from someone like me. That's what I'm expecting, you know. Because if we see people that, if government can support us, I believe we can still do more. So what we are expecting from them is just an assistant, you know, to assist us for our business, so that the business can grow, irrespective of the level of the business we are running. So I think that is what we are expecting from him.
My expectation is I want governor to build market for us, the road, the education, to make it be okay, and other beggars. There are some people who are begging in the streets. They don't have food. I want governor to help to support them so that they can have food and other things. Or there are some graduates, they don't have work, so they need to have work. So governor needs to look out of them.
Nǹkan tèmi fẹ́ kó ṣe fún mi ni pé mo ń wá sọ kó fún wa lọ́jà ká tajà, ẹja lèmi máa ń tà. Ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wa kọ́ ni ìka wa dọ́gba ànáwó tá máa fi gba ìsọ̀. So ó yẹ kí wọ́n gẹ̀ẹ́tì sọ fún wa bí tá máa ti free tá máa fi máa tajà. Wọ́n gẹ̀ẹ́tì ẹ̀ fún wa. Ó wà lè yá wọ́n sì ká kówó dání a máa jẹ ẹnìbọ̀ tá bá ti níbi tá máa ti jókòó fi tajà. It's a something.
I'm technologist. I'm not orange seller. It's because of the government demolished my shop. That's why I'm selling orange now. So the only thing I want government to do for us as a businesswoman, I want government to help us to pick up the big business, so that if he help us, our business will grow up. It's not person like me, I'm a technologist. I don't want to sell orange again. I want to go back to my job. It's the time of Fashola they broke up my shop. The new governor, my Sanwo-Olu. I want Sanwo-Olu to help me because I'm one of our member. I'm APC, so I'm a member. I want her to help me.
Èyí tí mo kàn fẹ́ ní àtọ̀dọ̀ ìjọba sí ará ìlú kí ìjọba ó ṣe nọ́mà gbogbo ìlérí tí wọ́n ṣe fún ará ìlú kí wọ́n mú ṣẹ. Ìtẹ́mi fẹ́ nìyẹn. Gbogbo àwọn owó tó wà tí wọ́n ń gbà lórí táìsì tí wọ́n ń gba gbogbo ẹ̀ tí owó ti pọ̀jù tí price ọjà fi lọ sókè kí wọ́n reduce ẹ̀. Nítorí pé tán bá reduce ẹ̀ àwa tá fẹ́ tajà náà tá bá ra ọjà ọ̀pọ̀ á lè tajà ọjà ọ̀pọ̀. Àmọ́ tá bá rajà wọ́n tá bá rà òun la máa tà. Kò jù báyẹn lọ.
I sell drinks. Like me, I want the government to like assist me. Yes, the governor to assist me with my business. As in, it's small. I know it's small, but I'm still okay with it.
As in, we need lights. We need light in this economy. We need lights. And we also need food to survive and shelter. Some people now, when the rain is falling, now we see them under the sun, sleeping anywhere. The governor is not trying at all. I swear to Almighty God. I just giving us scope. Yes, now. Governor should create awareness, shelter. People along the streets, they should treat them well, give them what they need. You understand? And they say we just elect a new governor, and it's not been as if they elect anybody. You understand now? Everything is the same as they are. You understand? Everywhere is not good now. The governor should try and increase the. You understand now? I mean, I know how to sing very well. I don't have any connection. I know how to. I can draw. I can play football. I can play. So they should just connect us. That would be very good now. So the Nigeria will be growing. It's like that. People will be sleeping around the streets. You see anybody anyhow. And again, one thing again about this SARS. They used to chase us, SARS. They should end SARS for us now. I don't like what they are doing.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to me, is a well-rounded person. He's hardworking, he's compassionate, he's full of wisdom, he's got so much empathy, he's a leader, he's a team player. I've worked with so many bosses in the course of my career, but honestly, thumbs up. He walks the talk. He doesn't just give you direction, he does with you. He is a leader in all ramification. That is Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu that I know and I've worked with in the last 2 years, 3 months before he vied for the governorship of Lagos State.
Personally, I would describe Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu in 2 ways. One, as a union person. I'm presently the Secretary of Senior Staff Association of the corporation. So I'll describe him from the union point of view and from his staff point of view. I remember one of the first thing Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu did when he came into office was invite the union representative. And one of the statements he made that day was that he invited us because we are a stakeholder in the corporation. And to me, that is a very wonderful idea because he sees us as a partner in progress, which is very wonderful. And going forward, he ensures that he engages us periodically when there are issues. So by this is actually being very proactive because before issues start, we've already discussed same with him, and this is very, like I said, means that he's a person that sees staff's welfare, that prioritizes staff welfare. And as a person, I've been opportune to meet and interact with him in many occasions. And I see him as a mentor, as a father, as a leader, and someone that has a very vast knowledge of experience. Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is someone that encourages hard work and rewards hard work too. And he's a person that, like you do tell us that he's very finicky, he's very particular about his things. And one of the few things he did while in office, you actually can see that. He came here 2016, and in these 2 years, he has made a lot of changes to the corporation, one of which is his present block we are in. He actually turned the block around. And like you do say that, for a total overhauling of the system, you need people and the process. Process is easy, but you have to actually change the mindset of the people, which he actually did. He's a people's person. He makes sure that he actually interacts with you when he sees you. And if he forgets your name, he will ask again. That's one of the good things about him. And as a leader, he has three qualities which I actually admire. He's accessible, he's a listener, and he's selfless.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to me, is a man that fears God, and I believe that makes him wise, and that has helped him in his work in LSDPC. The wisdom that he exhibits has given him a better edge in the corporation.
Babajide Sanwo-Olu is a leader, and he's a boss, and he's another easygoing man, and he's always and over generous for me personally and full staff and over caring.
Mr. Sanwo-Olu is someone I find to be an astute administrator. He is a man with a vision. He's a man with a purpose, and he's a man that takes measured steps towards achieving his purpose. Spent only just about 2 years and I think about 3 months, 2 years, 3 months or thereabout here in LSDPC. And he was able to achieve very major positive changes. I would say he left lasting legacies. I'm sure you've seen some of his legacies around in terms of physical infrastructure, and he left legacies in terms of human capital development in that short period of time.
I can describe him in many forms because he's many things to a lot of people. But one thing that is very clear is looking at him from my own purview, which is HR. He is a man that has the workers' welfare at heart. Right from his inception here at LSDPC, he took staff welfare as his priority, even when there were challenges, because initially when he came in, the system wasn't too smooth, you know. At that time, there was challenge of funding. There was so many challenges. We had HR, or rather, labor issues, you know. But he came in probably because of his experience both at the private and the public sector. He was able to resolve all the lingering problems within few months that he was there. In fact, I am also a testimony to one of his early achievements here at LSDPC. Before he came in as the managing director, the highest that any staff could get to here was the deputy general manager. So he came in and he said, well, I mean, if for him, he doesn't see anything stopping any staff here who is deserving of a deserving staff from getting to the zenith of his or her career. So we changed the existing rule, and it was the one that brought in the idea of elevating staff to the position of general manager. So that's how a few of us in the system were able to get to the position of general manager.
Well, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is an astute leader. He's a man of character. He's a leader and a mentor by excellence. He's ever interested in bringing out the best
from this employee, and I've happened to have benefited immensely from his wealth of experience and his leadership style.
I joined LSDPC year 2000. So this is my 19th year. Mr. Sanwo-Olu is a total package, like I said. I've had the privilege of working with about 5 CEOs directly, maybe one indirectly. And Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu encompasses all, everyone, we all have our SWOTs. And I always try to analyze what his weakness is. And usually I end up believing and just a takeaway that his weakness is actually a strength. In administering maybe, what would I say? Maybe I want to call it penalty, punishment for any erring staff. He will turn it into positivity. So he doesn't see anyone as being totally useless. He would rather call you and have a chat with you, give you life experiences, give you examples. And before you realize, the person is turning around. So in comparing him with other CEOs, he comes down to everyone's level. And he takes people as they are. And he believes everyone has a role to play. And each and everyone must play. So to me, his management style is a totally different one, albeit very, very worthy of emulation, and it worked. He was there, like I said, 2 years, 3 months, and he was able to impact the people, the environment, and the process. It started what we call the Project Eagle. It's still an oncoming thing. The Project Eagle is to come up with new processes of doing things easier, faster, interacting with the public, ways of doing our job and service delivery, And the people, generally public servants, civil servants are seen as lazy, they're not ready to work and all that. It changed the face of that. And then the environment. Anyone coming to LSDPC in the last 2 years or 1.5, slightly before you came, the environment is totally different. My office, if you had been here in the last 2 years, this was like a rundown. Look, if you compare now, then it didn't look rundown. We all come here, we work and we go. But it's a totally new environment. This looks like a bank, So it actually affected all the facets of the corporation. Total package, honestly. BOS.
Before we came, we have this idea of, training especially is done when there is money. Is the first to suffer. Immediately there is problem with cash flow. But when he came in, he said, if you want to get the best from staff, you need to motivate them. So he took staff motivation as his priority. And no matter how financial constrained he had at that time, he ensured that every month or at every point in time, staff's training and other welfare are taken as priority. And at times, some of us wonder how he is able to achieve those things he achieved. The other thing that I also see is, since I got to LSDPC, I dare say I've not seen the infrastructure regeneration that he undertook, and he completed most of them. This office is a testimony. You need to be here some few years back and you see the state of the office. But he went around and he said, look, if you want your staff to give you the best, it's not only it's not only training them, you also must give them the best environment to work. And that will challenge them to give you the best. So he undertook that project. He started with Block A. That's where he was when he was there. And when he completed that Block A, people thought, oh, this is the best LSDPC I've ever seen. But little did they know that, I mean, he was just bringing out the board from his pocket. He undertook this one too, and he did a complete renovation. At some point, some of us were thinking he's over trading, because when we looked at the cost implication of what he was doing, but he was able to achieve all those, I mean, with the problem of cash flow that was inherent in the system at that time. So apart from his love for staff welfare, I think he also came with some ingenious financial engineering that some of us don't really understand and we've never seen before he got here. Well, the other area that I can also comment on is his ability to bring out the best in every member of staff. Some of us, before he came, you know, we were not so challenged as to bring out the best in us. So when he came, he will give you the environment to excel, and he will also challenge you with tasks. He will give you a commensurate task to what he think, you know, your experience should carry. And for some of us, it was a new experience because we were used to, I mean, I must do some admission here. Some of us were used to the usual standard, just do it. But when he came, he brought that touch of excellence, and it demands the best from you every time. And that was a challenge to every one of us, that most times we have to go back before you even go before him to make presentation. You ensure that you go back, you check and double check, and you see that, look, what I'm bringing will meet his standard. Well, I won't say it's a pity he left so shortly, because if you compare what he did here to the number of years he did with us, you probably want to say he was the shortest CEO in terms of what he achieved compared to the shortest serving CEO in terms of the achievement. Because we served under those who spent 10 years and they hardly achieved a quarter of what he achieved. So for me, he was a wonderful person, and in so many aspects, in terms of welfare, he was up there. In terms of bringing out the best in staff, he was there. And also, I need to mention this: he never failed to reprimand when necessary. When you take things to him and he thinks this does not meet the required standard, he won't fail to chastise you, and he won't do that because he hates you. At times when you leave, he will find time and call you and tell you, look, that thing could be done better than what you did. And he wasn't just out to hurt you, but he was there to correct you and ensure he brings out the best in you.
He achieved in so many areas while in LSDPC. He improved the life of staff in LSDPC. People were well trained when he was in LSDPC. Officers that had never been out on training were out on training. Most people that have not been considered, you know, for capacity building, to improve themselves in any area, they had the opportunity of adding knowledge to what they know before while he was in LSDPC. So I can say he had that as a credit to himself, improving the life of staff on the job, and even in their personal lives. Most people were well taken care of while he was in LSDPC. There's a particular opportunity that was made available to staff, which is staff advances to staff, you know, for their welfare. During his tenure, everything was going on smoothly. People were able to, if you are lacking in any area, you can go to him. Even officially, you'll be considered, you'll be given, at least your life gets better. Leave bonuses were paid, furniture allowances were paid. People become, more comfortable when he was around. And you can see a lot of improvements still going on within the corporation. Those are his handiwork. That is what he started while he was here. He had added to the color of LSDPC, more building, better infrastructures here and there. Like this office that we are in was completed just some few months before he left LSDPC. And as a management staff, we had the opportunity of riding new cars. That was to his credit. He did a lot.
Well, he came in at a time when things were a bit at a low ebb for the corporation. Operations-wise, we were a bit on the low side. But despite, that situation, was able to achieve a turnaround. You would recall that that was a period that even the national economy itself was not doing too well. And finances were hard. But Mr. Sanwo-Olu he applied his ingenuity. By the time he left, we had close to about 6 projects, with 3 or 4 at advanced stages. And all out of almost nothing. So he was able to create about 3 projects in the Lekki axis, doing very well. We had about another 3 projects here on the mainland. So I would say that he is an ingenious person. He's an ingenious person. He applied himself to the job, was able to bring in his wealth of experience. He has a wealth of experience, having been in government for that period of time, and was able to leverage on that, and I'm sure there are good things in the offing for Lagosians.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu is an astute leader, and like I said earlier, he's a person that is so much interested in bringing out the best from his staff. Before Babajide Sanwo-Olu got to LSDPC, LSDPC has had a process, but the process was not as defined as much as it is now. And his 3 cardinal points while he was here was the people, the process, and then the environment. He was so much interested in the people, knowing fully well that it's the people that will drive the process. And that was why he invested so much in human resource development. During his time, a lot of staff, both senior, junior, and middle-ranking officers in the corporation went on training within the state, outside the state, and even outside the country. He was so much also interested in the environment. And you can also see that in the transformation that took place in Block B and in Block D. And he has already started in Block B before the clarion call came for him to lead the state as the governor. Where he also talked about the process. He made the process seamless. He made the process easy. And at the same time, he made the process to flow. And that was why he also started a project while he was there. And they call it the Project Eagle, trying to make sure that the process in LSDPC is seamless and also as fast as it could. And he has started working on that
before he left. And you cannot, the comparison is, the difference is too clear. And we are so sure that he's coming to the state will move forward and get better for it. Fine, like I said, this block is a physical, is one of the examples, and the receptions, and aside that, he actually invests a lot in staff welfare. Like during this program, most staff actually went for training. This is part of the process of improving, because it's like feeding the goose that lays the golden egg. He actually invested in the staff, which is very nice thing to do. So it makes his staff feel part of this development process itself. And one of the program he actually engineered then was Project Eagle. And Project Eagle is actually an initiative to take LSDPC to the next level. And like I do say, why did we choose Eagle? We chose Eagle then because of its peculiarity, its ability to survive and all that. Because we realized that we're in the construction industry. And whether we like it or not, LSDPC of today is not LSDPC of about 30 years ago. Before LSDPC 30 years ago, we were actually the only company that built house. But now we have a lot of competitors. And we have to stay edge above competition if we want to remain relevant in the industry. So because of this, that's one of the reasons we had Project Eagle, to revive the corporation, to add the total overhauling.
In fact, a few times on load of one B, from day one, don't you be not ṣiṣẹ́ lọ. Number one, me personally for the past 20, let's say 19 years, mo ti wà ní corporation, only promotion and gbogbo nǹkan tó ń ṣe fún wa wọ́n ń ṣe gbẹ̀gbà tó dé, at least wọ́n promote, wọ́n dẹ̀ fún mi ní award.
It was still at work on a Friday, and by Monday morning, of course, weekend was full of activity. Mr. Sanwo-Olu has been chosen as the party's candidate, and everyone's like, oh, and Monday morning, lo and behold, he didn't come to work. And the next management meeting, he had to call and he was put on speaker. I was like, just like that. He was still at work, carrying some files to him for, Oga, please, can you please look at it? And then, so it was how would I call it? Sweet and sour for us. Sweet in the sense that, yes, higher calling for him and the best for Lagos State. If given his antecedent and knowing who he is, and having even spoken to those, having had conversations to those he's worked with in the past and his person, this is the best for the state. God helping them with his running mate, honestly. And Sam was that, oh my God, this was his dream, changing the whole face of LSDPC. Everyone is already queuing into this thing. And this man is being just taking off us. We were shaking a bit, but knowing that we have to continue this legacy and we must not let him fail. And we're trying, and I hope that we're still maintaining the standard he left behind. For example, he started also what we call the Merit Award Day. In times past, we usually have end of year get together, thanking God, a party and all that. But he said he would rather have a Merit Award Day to appreciate and recognize staff who had worked meritoriously in the last 1 year. And this, I think, started June 2017. It came in 2016, like June. So a year later, we had this. And there was I think, let me say, maybe he likes dancing, I want to believe, or choreography. I said he would like for us to have a choreography group as well, to interject and put a little bit of fun into the day, the Merit Award Day. And I like dancing. That's my best hobby. So I became the class captain or the coordinator of the choreography group. And Mr. Sanwo-Olu is a member, is a student. He would come for practice every day with us. He practices with us. The days he can't come, we usually have the practice 1 hour, I think 2 to 3, and everyone goes back to work. The days they can't come, he will tell us to please record, and we send to him and we practice. In fact, I think I have a picture on my table. This is what he has. This was the one we used in 2018. The one we used in 2017 was a blue colored one. He would dance with us on that day. He stood attending to people, giving awards, and when it's time for the choreography, Sanwo-Olu will yank off his jacket, put on the t-shirt, and he joins us. Honestly, he's a leader who walks the talk. What we have seen in his campaign team, him getting down to helping people, the hairdresser, the mechanic, that is him. He will say, roll up your sleeves. Roll up your sleeves. It's not a leader or an MD that will sit down and expect you to do. No. Everyone must be involved. That is the kind of leader man is.
When I heard about his candidacy, I was surprised because it came as just a surprise to me. And along the line, I have to adjust myself because I see it as an improvement, on his own personality. And it's a man I've always been praying for, that God would, take him to higher grounds because he's been so good to us as members of staff of LSDPC. So I have to adjust myself quickly as to, this man is going for something better. You better allow your mind to, come together and just wish him well as a person, which I succumbed to.
Oh, I was very happy. Because while he was in LSDPC, I used to say, it's like somebody that when they announced him, I was happy. And like I used to say, it's like somebody that has capacity for 50 and is only given 5. So he's still at 45. Because I worked with him closely. And by God's grace, he's somebody that rewards hard work. I happened to have benefited when he came in 2000 and the first year when he came in, I happened to benefit from his leadership because he picked 3 of us as the outstanding staff of the MD. He picked us himself. And to those of us that worked, the 3 of us, everybody adjured that we are very hardworking. So when he came into Lagos State, when he went to pick the form, I was very excited because I know that Lagosians will be happy for the governor that they have chosen. So I'm very excited. I look forward to his style of this, to his leadership in Lagos State. I look forward to a Lagos where things will work again. So I'm very happy. And I'm looking forward to his ascension of the leadership of Lagos State come May 29, 2019 by God's grace.
Really, I was actually excited. Really, I was actually excited because in the small, it's like they said, he has been tested with small, we tested with a large. In a small capacity, within 2 years, like I said, he has done a lot for the corporation. So when I now imagine with a lot of resources and the bigger scope, what the state will enjoy if by inshallah 2 weeks time is in the state of power.
Of course, I was happy for the state. If using his achievement here as a parameter, he probably will take the state to the level that we've never seen before, because I think cumulatively he spent 2 years or less here, and you need to go around and see what he achieved compared to most of his predecessors who were here for so many years. So taking that and applying it to the state, I am assured that it's going to transform the state. More so, he's not new to administration in the state. He was a commissioner, and his footprints are everywhere in the record of Lagos State on his achievements that were achieved during his tenure, when he was in Treasury and when he was also in, I think, establishment that's the department that deals with, ministry that deals with HR and human resource issues. So I have this firm belief that he's going to achieve and is going to take the state to a greater height.
A fi pé ó dáa bet time tí wọ́n wá fi time tí wọ́n lò lọ́dọ̀ wa ń bí àwa ò fẹ́ àfẹ́ kan lọ ńgbà yẹn in fact àwa I mean personally mi ìfẹ́ kan fi wálẹ̀ but kò sí kò tá a lè ṣe mo mọ̀ pé the next level náà ló ń lọ so everybody personally mo wà happy.
I believe, God willing, Lagosians, thank God for the kind of people that, or the kind of candidates, or the kind of breeding that the former governor, Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has been able to throw up. He threw up the likes of the former governor, current minister, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. He threw up Femi Hamzat, Dr. Femi Hamzat, the running mate, and Mr. Sanwo-Olu. These are people who have served in his cabinet. So I expect I'm expecting that Lagosians, I'm trusting and believing that Lagosians would see the best of governance with two technocrats that have learned from a former performer and now coming to deliver to Lagos State. So they've been to the school, they've learned, they've performed during the regime of Governor Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Dr. Femi Hamzat also served under the current minister, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. What are we to expect? And they're very humble and down-to-earth human being. They've got the values, they've got the right interpersonal relationship, they've got the technocrats, they've got the brain, and they're ready to work. Judging from the way the campaign went, going to every sector, having discussions, identifying the needs and the challenges, you can tell that they're already putting down a book on what the challenges are, what are the likely solutions. So they want to hit the ground running. Like Mr. Sanwo-Olu himself would always tell us, let's pluck the low-hanging fruits. Let's pluck the low-hanging fruits, especially the one that would reach the populace. So I expect that Lagos State, in the next 4 years, by God's grace, we're going to have the best of governance. That is, judging, like I said, judging from what I have experienced within working here, judging from the campaign, judging from his running mate, Dr. Femi Hamzat, what is done at the state, what is done at the federal level with the current minister, because he's a special advisor on works. I expect the best for Lagos State. I expect the dark areas that Lagosians are mourning about to be tackled immediately. So I believe governance will be felt in the first 1 year, and that things are really going to jump in 4 years. That is my belief, and I pray God proves me right, and they prove me right.
Lagosians should expect, let me say, the best, because while he newly came into LSDPC, we heard about him that when he was at the state office, he added a lot of improvements to people's life, the staff welfare, and in the ministries where he had served before. So we were also watching and hoping that while in LSDPC, he would do something similar or better. And he didn't perform less than that. So Lagosians should expect the best during his tenure. That's just what I can say.
Really, I was actually excited. Really, I was actually excited because in the small, it's like they said, either has been tested with small, we tested with a large. In a small capacity, within 2 years, like I said, he has done a lot for the corporation. So when I now imagine with a lot of resources and the bigger scope, what the state will enjoy if by inshallah 2 weeks time is in a state of power.
Fàkè àwọn ará Èkó kan máa expect pé Babajide Sanwo-Olu is a man tó yẹ pé changes máa wà ní Èkó I trust láti dé wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣe báyìí ó máa affect láti everybody ni títí dé even though dé ọmọ kékeré pé ó máa ní impact lára nǹkan tó bá ṣe lẹ́kọ̀ọ́.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, this is for you, boss. My Oga me. We know your worth. We know your standard. We know what you can do. And we believe you're not going to change. And if you're going to change, it's going to be for the better. Most of us have we've staked our neck, we've staked all that we've got, that this is a performer. God willing, please just go ahead and dazzle Lagos with performance. Let them see, oh my God, it's been good during Ashiwaju, it was better during now we're having a blast in Lagos. That for me would be charm. And then, like he said, he wants to take Lagos to his theme. Transportation, everything, to Lagos being a mega city. We're talking of Dubai. We want Lagos to be the Dubai of Africa. Honestly, that is my closing remark. And I believe that God has deposited all that you need, ably assisted by your deputy governor. And I believe that your cabinet, the one you're going to be having, you're going to be putting round pegs in round holes. And they'll key into your vision and mission. And you're going to ensure that they perform in your gentle manner, doing it gently, and ably assisted by your lovely wife. Because without the support of your spouse and having a peaceful home and peace of mind, the man would come to work and is just disoriented. So that's my prayer, my belief, and what I think Lagos is in for in the next 4 years. Amen.
My closing remark is that as I've always prayed for him, I still pray that as God has given him the opportunity to advance, God himself will sustain him. He's wearing a larger shoe, and I believe he didn't scheme himself to become the governor of Lagos State. God that has lifted him, brought him up, will sustain him, back him up, give him the wisdom beyond that which he has exhibited in LSDPC, because he's now, going to get himself involved with the state, as a whole. LSDPC is still a portion of the state. So beyond the wisdom that God granted him in LSDPC, God will give him a better opportunity in wisdom. He will be able to perform even beyond expectations. Because I told him when we met with him that people's expectations are so high, but I believe the God that backed him up in LSDPC will see him through all his tenure. He'll be able to perform even beyond the expectations of men by the grace of God.
Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, you have excelled before, especially in the private sector and also in the public sector. And I have no doubt, Emil, that you are going to excel in Lagos State. As we take us steadily, step by step, and as we follow you, by the time it's going to be 4 years, when we look back and we say, no, this cannot be Lagos. This is actually the Lagos of our dream.
Then we should all join hands, with the governor, support him with our prayers. We should also support him with what is expected of us in terms of our civic duties. And once we do that, the sky is the limit for Lagos State. Well, my closing remark is asking Lagosians to give him their maximum support and to be rest assured that he's a man that will not disappoint them.
I'm just happy for Lagosians because he's I can't say it's the best, but it's one of the best things that's happened to Lagos in recent times.
Gbogbo promise during the campaign tó ń ṣe fún àwọn ará Èkó, tó make sure pé wọ́n mú ṣẹ, and LSDPC particularly ṣe mọ̀ pé bí wọ́n ti kúrò lọ, so kọ́ mọ̀ pé impact pé wọ́n di governor yẹn wọ́n máa do more fún wa ní LSDPC.
I think Lagosians should normally expect a robust administration, a responsive administration, because I know Jide Sanwo-Olu. Jide is somebody who is fundamentally humble, and that's a very, very powerful factor in achieving success when you are in political office. Because when you are in political power or office, you are not there for yourself and your family alone, or your crony or friends alone. No. You are there to make life more convenient and easier for the entire citizenry of that particular milieu. And when you are humble, you are able to consult. You are not afraid to consult. You are not afraid to seek advice from the right quarters. It is humility that would open the right doors to you, and it is humility that would attract the right people to you. 2, experience. Sanwo-Olu's had the experience in public administration, like I said. This is also why he was more visible than the other 2. He has had hands-on experience in a number of ministries in government. He served under Tinubu, he served under Fashola as well. And even under Ambode, he was managing director of LSDPC. So he's had quite an appreciable amount of exposure and experience to governance. It's not new to it. So he's going to hit the ground running. Number 3, he has very good interpersonal relationship skills. He's a very, 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 very cogent variable in achieving success in political, environment. You have to be able to combine professionalism and your technocratic capacity with your people's skills. And I see all of this in Jide Sanwo-Olu. I've had interactions with him professionally and otherwise spanning several years. And I've seen those attributes in him. And that marks him out as a potential successful governor of Lagos. So I think Lagosians are honestly lucky, to have such a person coming on board to drive the state. And because of those critical attributes of his, that humility, the people's skills, plus the knowledge and the exposure and experience he's had, it's a no-brainer that he will succeed.
Well, I obviously want to thank, you, but also want to thank Lagosians that I'm excited with what we have ahead of us. I'm excited with the inauguration right around the corner and all of the things that we said we're going to do. I'm excited that once we get into power, that very, very quickly, we're able to show a clear roadmap to Lagosians on a month-to-month basis, where we're saying that our government will be open, our government will be inclusive, our government will be transparent, our government will be participatory, in which engagement will continue, in which issues that is burning to Lagosians, we will put it to the forefront and we will bring about solutions that will improve the quality of life. We will ensure that ease of doing business in Lagos are part of the quick things that we can resolve. We will ensure that all of the challenges that are within our immediate resolutions, right? Removing all of the red tapes in governance, that we can solve them very, very quickly. And on the medium to long-term basis, we will clearly articulate, our plans, policies, programs, and visions for Lagosians, so that while we're doing it, they will need to know what we're doing. While we're cooking it, they will need to know what exactly it is that we're doing. So we must have an action plan that will transparently explain to Lagosians what they need to expect 1 year down the line, what they need to expect 2 years down the line. And of course, the relationship has to be both ways. What we also will be expecting of Lagosians, we'll be expecting of the citizens, the behavior, the culture, the attitudinal change, the expectations on the revenues that we need to do all of those things. It's a contract that we will need to have with Lagosians. It's a contract that we need to have with the citizens, right? Where once they fill their part, we will certainly will fulfill our part. So it's a social contract that we're putting on the table for everybody. And so it's to assure Lagosians that they've done the right thing, they voted the best team, and that the best team will ensure that quality of life is improved, security of life and property is assured, ease of doing business is well defined and is well articulated, such that at the end of our 4th term, right, Lagosians will have been better off for it.
This special edition of The Governor would not have been made possible but for the contribution and support of a few people who we called upon at very, very short notice and yet were committed to supporting the publication. In particular, I'd like to say a big thank you to His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Congratulations, sir, and I do thank you for your support, for granting us this interview immediately. We asked for it at short notice and making all things possible. I would also like to thank His Excellency, the former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Otumba Femi Pedro. Thank you very much, sir. He also just immediately we asked him, said, please come over and supported us. He contributed to the interview. And also former Commissioner for Information and Strategy in Lagos State, my dear Egmont, Mr. Dele Alake, who just opened up himself, gave us free access and just said, come along and do the interview. To the Deputy Chairman, APC Lagos State, again, a wonderful elder, wonderful Egmont, wonderful uncle, a perfect gentleman who said, please come over, do this interview. If it's for APC, if it's for Babajide Sanwo-Olu, I'm definitely in. And we went there and he gave us all the necessary support. I say a big thank you to Chief Sonny Akinsoya Ajose. Thank you for your support, sir. Also like to say a big thank you to the members of staff of LSDPC who had just enough words, to say and describe His Excellency BOS. I'd like to say a big thank you to the MBA class, University of Lagos, 1998 to 2000, who were so ready to grant us the interviews when we requested. Thank you. I'd like to say a big thank you to members of the AIG Media Pro, the crew, as well as Ibile TV media crew for making this possible. Sleepless nights all over the state, interviews, and just doing their best. I thank you all. Without you, this will not have been possible. In particular, I'd like to single out Adeyinka Ibenoba, the editor of the Governor and now joint editor-in-chief of the Governor. Without her, just skills, without her striving, without her, she gave it all. I mean, she went out of her way. The moment I mentioned to her that we were doing this special edition, she just gave all she had. And I say thank you to you, Adeyinka. And finally, to Lagosians at large who supported us when, at the interviews on the street. Thank you. The orange seller, the market woman, the fish seller, the youth coppers, and who just felt, look, if this interview is about Babajide Sanwo-Olu, we want to be part of it. Thank you. And we do appreciate your just being part of this special edition of The Governor. Thank you. I hope you enjoy as you watch or as you read and as you listen. Do have a wonderful day.